Kira is a tough salvage pilot living in a dangerous ocean city called the Shambles. One day, she finds a strange device that falls from the sky, a powerful tool that can change time itself. Alien scientists from the future, called Glyons, appear and explain the device's danger. But a cruel warlord named Admiral Castor wants the device to control the future and erase whole civilizations. Kira and the aliens must work together to stop him before time breaks forever. This story is full of suspense, danger, and tough choices. It shows how courage and friendship can fight against impossible odds. The fate of the past, present, and future depends on what Kira and her new allies do next. Kira's hands moved steadily over the controls of her Manta, her small, patched-up submarine. The engines hummed, smooth for once. The early morning light fell softly on the water, the sky quiet and clear. It was going to be a good day for salvage. She liked days like this. No danger. No surprises. Just calm. Then the sky caught fire. Far above the ocean, something huge fell, slicing through the morning haze. Kira's eyes widened as she watched the object plummet toward the sea. It was not one of the Citadel's aerial scouts. Too big. Wrong shape. And it left behind a strange trail of glowing particles, things her salvage sensors could not understand. Her fingers tightened on the controls, gripping hard. Memories of the brass ring came rushing back, the last time she had seen something fall like this. The brass ring was her mentor Silas's rig, torn apart piece by piece during a brutal attack. The Citadel forces had circled like sharks, making sure no one survived. They called it an accident, a geothermal rupture. But Kira knew better. Those blast patterns were from explosives, placed carefully to destroy. The Citadel was cleaning house again. The object hit the water with a crushing force. A pressure wave rocked the Manta, tossing it like a toy in a storm. The submarine groaned, fighting to stay steady. Whatever fell from the sky wasn't from around here. Kira had learned long ago that things not from around here were either incredibly valuable or deadly. Sometimes both. She dove. Underwater, the world was a blur of blue and dark shapes. The object was sinking fast, its surface strange and shifting in the ocean light. It was made of metal she had never seen, colors moved across it like water flowing over stone. The Manta's sonar painted a grim picture, the structure was breaking apart, flooding quickly. But somewhere inside, a pocket of air held strong. There was movement. Kira reached out with the Manta's robotic arms and pulled two figures free. They wore tight suits that gleamed faintly in the dim water. The smaller figure spoke through a strange speaker built into his throat. His voice was urgent but calm. "Sterilization failsafe active," he said. The older figure nodded, eyes serious. Kira brought them into her cargo hold. The air rushed in as the hatch sealed tight. The two aliens coughed, spitting salty seawater. She eyed the device they had with them, a lattice of smoky glass threaded with glowing filaments. It pulsed softly, full of hidden power. "This thing," Kira said, running her fingers over it. "It's worth a fortune." The older alien, Lorian, looked at the device with a mix of fear and respect. "The Chronos," he said. "A chronoser, an instrument that can bend time." Kira raised an eyebrow. "So what? It sounds expensive." Lorian shook his head. "It is dangerous. If it falls into the wrong hands, it could change history. Erase people. Destroy entire civilizations." Kira grinned, straddling a worn chair. "Then I'm glad you found me. Help me figure out what it can really do." Lorian and the smaller alien, Anil, exchanged worried glances. They introduced themselves as temporal archaeologists, travelers who study history without changing it. But Kira wasn't fooled. They wanted something. And she wanted to know why. Suddenly, the workshop door exploded inward. Citadel guards poured in, their powered armor glowing with menace. Their weapons were raised and ready. The lead guard's voice boomed over the chaos. By order of Admiral Castor, you are under arrest for possession of classified military assets. Kira's mind raced. How had they found her so fast? Milo, the scrap lord, must have betrayed her. She glanced at the Chronos device, then back at the guards. 6 armored soldiers. Bad odds. She smiled. Reaching quickly, Kira grabbed a nearby power coupling and hurled it at the lead guard. The device exploded in a burst of energy, sending the guard convulsing to the floor. "Go," she shouted. Machines in the workshop sprang to life, tools spinning and sparking everywhere, creating a barrier of chaos. Kira grabbed the Chronos, yelling for the aliens to follow. They scrambled up a ladder to the roof as more guards flooded in. The city stretched out around them, a tangle of platforms and bridges built on water, held together by hope and stubbornness. Kira didn't hesitate. She grabbed a cable and swung herself into the night sky, the Chronos clutched tight. Behind her, she heard the Glyons' gasps of fear and the angry shouts of their pursuers. They landed hard on a fishing platform a few levels below. The owner took one look at the guards chasing them and suddenly remembered urgent business elsewhere. Kira didn't wait. "Milo's place," she panted. 2 platforms east. "If he sold us out, I want to know why." They reached the burning ruins. Smoke rose from Milo's compound, the fire fierce and thorough. Guards searched the rubble, tossing debris. Kira pulled the aliens behind a pile of salvage crates. Through the haze, she saw Milo's body, his throat cut clean. Tying up loose ends, she whispered. Anil shook her head. "He didn't have the anchor." "No," Kira said grimly. "Just the knowledge that I had it. Milo tried to trade us in. But Castor doesn't leave witnesses." The guard spoke calmly into his calm, fence neutralized. "No sign of the device. The salvager still has it. The Admiral wants that artifact. Whatever it takes." Lorian's fingers trembled as he ran his calculations. If Castor integrates the anchor with the geothermal systems, the temporal feedback will trap us in a closed time loop. We could be stranded forever. Kira's eyes burned with anger. "Then we make sure he doesn't get it." She looked at the fragile aliens, logical and out of place. Then at the glowing anchor, the thing that had fallen from the sky and brought death with it. Silas would have thrown it in the ocean. Too dangerous. But Silas was gone. "The Citadel is a fortress," Kira said. 20 meters of reinforced auriculum, energy shields, automated defenses, an army of guards. Lorian nodded. "From the outside, it is impossible." Kira's smile was sharp. "Every fortress breathes. The Citadel pulls cold water through massive thermal pipes. Pipes big enough to fly through." "Define crazy," Anil asked. "Superheated steam, crushing pressure, dodging turbine blades, and praying you don't get crushed or boiled alive." "Suicide," Lorian said flatly. "Probable suicide," Kira corrected. "But better odds than waiting for Castor." She stood, decision clear. "We go tonight. They'll expect prey, not predators." Lorian blinked. "How?" Kira held up the Chronos. "You two are supposed to be geniuses. Figure out how to turn this into a weapon we can use. I'll handle the rest." Lorian looked doubtful. "That would violate every temporal safety law." "Pick your paradox," Kira said. "Letting a genocidal admiral erase civilizations, or fighting back." The aliens exchanged a long look. Lorian finally nodded. "We'll need access to your submarine systems. Integration will be unconventional." Kira grinned. "That's why I work." The sun had vanished beneath the horizon, but the city of the shambles never truly slept. Flickering lights danced on the water's surface as countless floating platforms creaked under the weight of 1,000 stories, stories of survival, of rebellion, of quiet hope. Tonight, Kira felt the heavy pulse of the city beneath her, a heartbeat she knew well. The Manta's engines hummed low, its patched hull cutting through the dark waters as Kira guided it toward the hidden maintenance bays beneath the citadel. The towering fortress loomed above them, a nightmare of steel and glass wrapped in harsh cold light, a monument to control and fear. She kept her eyes fixed ahead, heart steady but ready for whatever came next. Lorien floated beside her in the cramped cabin, his expression unreadable as he ran calculations on his retinal display. Anil, quieter but no less sharp, worked on the temporal anchor, her fingers weaving strange patterns of light and energy across its surface. "We're running out of time," Lorien said, breaking the silence. "Castor's integration of the Chronos anchor is progressing faster than expected. If he completes the array, the entire timeline could collapse." Kira's jaw tightened. "Then we stop him. No matter what." The Manta's sensors beeped softly as they approached the intake valve to the Citadel's thermal exchange system, a massive metal gate that pulsed with power. This was their only way in. The cold water pumped through pipes larger than city streets, a labyrinth of steel and steam hidden beneath the fortress. Kira swallowed her fear and glanced at the others. "You ready?" Lorien nodded, though tension lined his face. "As ready as I'll ever be." Anil's voice was steady. "We have synchronized the anchor to your engines. This will help us slip through the thermal pipes undetected, but it is dangerous. One wrong move and we could be crushed or boiled alive." "Danger's my middle name," Kira muttered, eyes sharp. The valve began to cycle open with a thunderous groan, massive metal teeth retracting to reveal a narrow passage. The Manta surged forward, the water pulling fiercely as it was sucked into the intake. Kira fought to control the vessel, muscles tense as the submarine darted through the gap with inches to spare. The teeth slammed shut behind them, sealing the path. Phase 1 complete, Lorien breathed. Ahead lay a maze of steaming pipes and humming valves. The air grew hotter, thick with the scent of burning metal. Kira's hands moved with practiced ease, guiding the Manta through the twisting tunnels, dodging sudden bursts of scalding steam and razor-sharp turbine blades. Lorien marveled quietly. "Your knowledge of this system is remarkable." "I've been planning a job like this for years," Kira said with a grin. "Never had the right reason. Until now." Suddenly, an energy spike flashed on the scanners. Ahead, a pipe glowed red-hot, water boiling violently around it. "They've integrated the Chronos," Anil said. "It's drawing power. We have to hurry." Kira didn't wait. She pushed the Manta harder, bursting through a maintenance pool and into a vast chamber filled with machines and flickering consoles. But something was wrong. Bodies lay scattered across the floor, technicians and guards, all dead, their throats slashed in a clean, merciless line. Kira's breath caught. "He's wiping out witnesses. This is worse than we thought." Lorien's voice was low. "Castor is desperate. He won't hesitate to kill anyone who stands in his way." The heat grew oppressive as they climbed out of the water onto a narrow catwalk. The hum of the Chronos array grew louder, vibrating through the steel beneath their feet. Security cameras flickered uselessly. The guards were gone. Concentrated somewhere else. "The command center," Anil whispered. "That's where he'll be." They moved quietly through dim corridors, shadows flickering in the low light. Kira's fingers brushed the plasma cutter at her side, ready for whatever came next. Then, through reinforced glass, they saw him. Admiral Castor stood tall, calm and cold, addressing his officers. Behind him, the Chronos anchor was transformed, massive clamps held dozens of smaller devices, feeding power into a central core. The energy pulsed like a living thing, twisting the air around it. Castor's voice was steady, filled with cruel certainty. "This is not a weapon, but a tool of preservation. With it, we can remove the threat of future rebellion." Stop the mainland civilizations before they rise. Images flickered on his holographic display, cities burning, armies clashing, futures erased. Lorien's face went pale. He plans a temporal excision. Not death, but erasure of progress. They will remain scattered tribes forever. Anil gasped. That is monstrous. Kira clenched her fists. And we're not going to let him. Suddenly, alarms blared through the complex. The Chronos array's hum shifted, discordant and wild. Castor's voice cut through the chaos. Manual override. Authorization, Castor Alpha 9. Authorization not recognized, the system replied. Castor's eyes flickered with anger. He pulled a small device, a temporal disruptor, and raised it. If I cannot control time, no one will. He activated it on himself, and his body began to fade, erased from existence. But as he disappeared, the timeline fractured. Kira's world shattered into fragments. She saw herself in many forms, on the brass ring when it fell, as the Admiral himself, as a stranger who never learned to salvage. Lorien's voice echoed everywhere and nowhere. Someone must physically disconnect the array. Kira's heart pounded as she moved through the shifting realities, the plasma cutter in her hand changing shape, wrench, weapon, nothing. Her destination was clear, the core of the array, where the original anchor pulsed. Castor's fading echo blocked her path. You doomed them all, he hissed. Without unity, chaos will reign. Yes, Kira said, voice steady. But your order would have destroyed everything. She struck the coupling again and again. On the fourth blow, reality snapped back. The array went dark. Paradoxes collapsed. Castor's echo gave her one last, sad look, then vanished. The citadel trembled, systems failing, collapsing into chaos. Run! Lorien shouted. They fled through twisting halls that aged and repaired themselves in moments, slipping through impossible spaces. The Manta waited, engines coughing to life. With a roar, it burst through the bay doors, escaping the citadel's death spiral. Behind them, the fortress imploded, metal screaming as it folded into nothing. They surfaced miles away, watching the citadel's last moments fade. Lorien's voice was heavy but calm. The timeline is stabilizing. The paradox resolved. Kira looked out at the calm sea, the anchor dim but still alive. Anil finally spoke. We should return to our time. Report this event. Contain the technology. Kira nodded, but her eyes caught a warning on the console. The Manta's power core was failing, strained by the temporal energy. How long? Lorien asked. Days, maybe less, Kira said. It's been hanging by a thread. Lorien produced a cracked power cell from his suit. This may help. Together, they worked, human stubbornness and alien logic melding into creation. They built a buffer system to regulate the energy flow. Kira held her breath as she flipped the switch. The engines hummed smoothly, stronger than before. It works, she whispered. Lorien smiled faintly. We built it together. Anil looked up. Perhaps that is the lesson, not just logic or stubbornness, but their combination. Kira grinned. Getting philosophical now, Doc. Before leaving, Lorien adjusted the anchor. Its light shifted from cold blue to warm gold. The coordinates are set, he said. This will take us home. But maybe, Anil said softly, we should keep watching. To see how this new timeline grows. Kira laughed. And if they need help? You know where to find me. Lorien asked, puzzled. You. Why? She looked back at the ruins of the citadel. Because some things are worth more than safety. Because sometimes honoring the dead means making enemies. The Glyans activated their temporal field. Reality bent once more. Until next time, Anil said. Kira smiled, ready. Definitely a next time, Lorien added. The Manta's engines thrummed quietly beneath Kira's hands as the submarine cut through the dark water. Outside, the city of the Shambles stretched endlessly, a chaotic maze of platforms, bridges, and hope built on floating debris. The ocean's surface was calm, but inside the Manta, tension crackled like electricity. Lorien sat nearby, staring at the Kronos anchor resting on the console. The device's soft golden light pulsed slowly, as if breathing. Anno leaned over his shoulder, fingers tracing patterns on her display. Kira broke the silence. So, what now? We stopped Castor, but the anchor, it's still here. Still dangerous. Lorien nodded slowly. The anchor is a beacon in time, a signal that could draw others, more travelers, or worse, hunters. Annel's voice was quiet but certain. We must establish a watch, a monitoring station in this timeline. To learn and protect. Kira smiled faintly. Guess that makes us guardians of time now. Lorien looked at her. And you? You're not from our world. Why help us? She shrugged, eyes fixed on the horizon. Because Silas taught me something. Some things are worth more than safety. Sometimes, honoring the dead means fighting the impossible. The Manta rose toward the surface, slipping out of the shadows beneath the water. Kira's gaze swept over the scattered platforms and struggling survivors, a world still broken, still fighting. Time isn't about deals, she said softly. It's about choices. And I'm ready to make mine. Suddenly, the calm crackled. A faint voice broke through. Kira, is that you? She froze. The voice was weak, desperate. It was someone from her past, someone she thought was lost. Who is it? Lorien asked. Kira swallowed hard. Old friend. Maybe the last. The voice grew clearer. The Citadel isn't gone. Others rise to fill the void. The future is still fragile. Kira clenched her fists. Then we have to be ready. Lorien tapped his display. The timeline has changed, but ripples remain. We'll need allies. Anil nodded. And strength. Kira smiled, the fire returning to her eyes. Then let's get to work. The city of the Shambles stretched out like a tangled web of light and shadow beneath the rising sun. Kira stood on the deck of the Manta, the salty breeze whipping her hair as she looked toward the horizon. The ruins of the Citadel were gone, but its memory still hung heavy over the ocean city. Inside the submarine, Lorien and Anil worked feverishly on the Kronos anchor. Their delicate hands moved with precision, weaving strange energy fields that pulsed softly in the dim light. The anchor's glow shifted from gold to a steady blue, a sign that the device was stabilizing, but also that its power was far from spent. Kira paced the narrow cabin, mind racing. The world was changing. The future was uncertain. But one thing was clear, danger was far from over. Castor was just the beginning, Lorien said quietly. Others will come. Those who seek control over time. Anil nodded, her eyes reflecting the anchor's light. We must prepare. Build defenses. Train allies. Kira stopped pacing and looked at them. We're not just fighting for survival. We're fighting for freedom. For a future where people can choose their own path. Lorien smiled faintly. A future worth protecting. Suddenly, the Manta's sensors beeped urgently. An alert flashed across the console, an unknown vessel approaching fast. Kira's eyes narrowed. Trouble. Again. She took the helm, steadying the submarine as it dove deeper into the ocean's shadowy depths. Lorien and Anil exchanged worried glances. The past was catching up, and the fight for time was far from over. Darkness pressed in around the Manta as Kira guided it through the twisting underwater canyons beneath the Shambles. The unknown vessel's sensors flickered on her screens, closing fast, a sleek shape slicing through the water with deadly purpose. They were coming for the Kronos anchor. Lorien's fingers flew over his displays. They're not from the Citadel. Different technology, different timeline signatures. But just as dangerous. Annel's voice was tight. Temporal hunters. They exist to capture artifacts like ours, to use them or destroy them. Kira's heart pounded. Then let's show them what happens when you mess with us. The manta surged forward, weaving through narrow tunnels and dodging geothermal vents. Kira's mind raced with plans, each risk heavier than the last. The hunters closed in, relentless. Suddenly, the anchor's glow flared bright. It pulsed with raw energy, the device reacting to the threat, as if alive. Lorien gasped. It's trying to protect itself. Or warn us. Kira gritted her teeth. Then we fight, not just for ourselves, but for the future of time itself. The battle began. Explosions rocked the underwater canyons as the manta and the hunters clashed in a deadly dance. Energy beams lit the darkness, machines groaned under fire, and the ocean trembled with every strike. Kira moved with fierce determination, guiding her vessel through impossible odds. Lorien and Annel worked to keep the anchor safe, weaving shields and countermeasures. The fight was brutal, close, and exhausting. But then, with a final surge, Kira found a clear path and thrust the manta upward, bursting through the water's surface into the dawn light. The hunters faltered, retreating into the depths. Breathing hard, Kira looked at her allies. We survived, she said, voice steady but fierce. Because the future is worth fighting for. Lorien smiled, eyes bright with hope. And because we face it together. Annel nodded. Together, we will protect time. The anchor pulsed softly on the console, a reminder that time was fragile, full of choices. Kira's gaze lifted to the horizon. The ocean stretched endlessly, a vast canvas of possibility. And somewhere beyond the waves, their story was just beginning.